Okay, I wanted to make a quick video showing how to take an intraoral scan and convert it into a STL file that's ready to print on a 3D printer. This software is through Medit. It's a free software. You actually don't need to own a Medit intraoral scanner. You can even use the software for free. I believe they give you 10 gigabytes. And if you need more memory cloud storage, then it's only, I believe, $1 US per month, which is quite reasonable. I have here a scan that I had taken of my mouth, and as you can see, it's kind of typical of what you expect of a scan. There are some pieces that are missing, and you get some excess tissue in some areas. And same here as well. So what essentially all I will do is just hit this button here for the Medit Model Builder, and it opens up the app. So I already had made one previously, so I will just hit cancel and make a new one. And this is my maxilla and my mandible base, and if you want to switch it out, you can use something else and put it in. But this is the right one I want here, and you can even import other local files if if you don't have a Medit scanner where the data is already in the cloud, you can import STL files from another scanner as long as you can export the STL file. But most intraoral scanners allow that functionality now. So I hit confirm, and basically this is kind of what we start off with. This is a visualization panel, lower, upper, and gives you some information. And then it says the instructions are on the left here. This is the initial base creation stage, so just check the scan data, click the icon at the top to start making the model. So we start from left to right, go hit left, this one here. And this just basically, let me undo that. And if you want to move around, you got to click this circular arrow button here and just kind of take a look. And this is, basically the information that I want to make a model with. You can expand your selection this way. You can decrease it. You can manually. So you uncheck this if you want to select another part and add it, or I believe you can hit Command, or in Windows you use Control, and then you can delete the selection. Right click is just kind of drag it around, and up mouse wheel is zoom in and zoom out, and the middle mouse wheel, pressing it doesn't do anything. And then you can invert selection and such, but that's not really what we need. This is to deselect all, and turning deselect option, and then turn back on so you can select there. Okay, so and then that just resets. That looks good. I'm happy with what I have here. Just hit next. And here allows me to, again, if I feel like there's might be too much or some data I need to trim off again, they just allow you to do that. So again, I can just kind of highlight there. Let's say I want to delete that. So then I just hit delete and remove it. And then you can even ask it to fill holes in certain areas around, but I think it already did that for me, so I'm just gonna move on. And you can even actually change. So this is a quick note. If let's say you want to do some whitening trays, and if your preference is to add some space for the bleaching, you can actually add material onto the facial surfaces of the teeth. So, and I'll do this, change the color and the white. wireframes here. So you can see I'm just adding material here. I don't know if that shows up too well. All right, that looks a bit better. So here, and just quickly adding some material on the facial of the teeth. Doesn't have to be exact, you know, as long as it holds some material there. And then you can rotate it this way. Turn this off. Right, so all that did was just add some material to the facial surfaces of the teeth for, let's say if I'm making bleaching trays for myself. And then this allows you to, the menu here, you can see you can add, remove, smooth. So I'll just quickly show what smoothing does. And yeah, so if you hold Control or Command and mouse wheel, you can change the size of this. So it's just a shortcut to do things a bit quicker. And then I guess brush strength is option for me. And so you can see down here how it's moving. So I believe that is Alt in Windows, but those are just quick shortcuts. And so let's say I want to get a larger one, and I'm on number 3 on my smooth tool, and let's say I'm just because if I want to make it look less bumpy, I can just go over the areas where I added the material, and you can see how it just kind of smooths it out a bit. So Medit does a really good job of providing a lot of functionality with their software, and I've been pretty impressed with it so far. Well, that's enough of that. I'm not going to add the spacing on the lower teeth. I won't really bleach them, and I already went over how to do that. So then we hit next on the bottom right. And at this point, the software will do automatic alignment. It already found the distal buccal cusp tip on my 6s and the midline incisal edge, and you can see it's pretty spot on in terms of alignment. I didn't have to do anything, but you can actually manually do it by picking those 3 points with the instructions up there, and you can even just reset the alignment, but I'm not going to do that because everything looks good here. So then I'm just going to move on. So this next step is just to determine how high you want your base or how thick you want the base. So you can go quite large, or if you want to save some resin, you can go as thin as possible. Keeping in mind, the thinner you go, the higher chance of breakage if you're trying to take it off the build plate if you're building flat. So just a couple things to consider. There are different base types. You know, I think this is for ortho models and just different shapes so you can choose. So let's go with the yeah, this is less resin and easier for, let's say, if I'm making bleaching trays. And so I can even go as thin as possible. I don't think you can go thinner than this, so let's say 12. No, so 28.2, just given based on the scan data that's available here, that's the thinnest I can go. You have the option of having it hollow, and then once you click the hollow option, it actually gives you options in terms of drain holes. You can do number of holes, which is great, how large the holes be, and then whether you want them higher up doesn't make sense, but you want them near the base there, especially if you're building flat. That allows for when you're building or when you're printing, the uncured resin doesn't pool inside the hollow model and then creates a big mess when you take it out. So it allows for you to drain everything out, and then you can change drain holes. Like I said, pretty impressive in terms of the software. And you can even add kind of honeycomb effect to reinforce the model if you are having issues with breakage. Obviously, you use more resin, but then you have less issues with breakage. I usually go for about 3 millimeters, but again, you can change the thickness of the wall, so of the model. So let's just go with 3. Oops. And so change this here, looking good. You can even at the distal ends of the model, you can add it to make a base so that if you're printing vertically, that's nice and flat for you, so it's easier to print. And then you can also even add a bevel. What you can see here, the bevel allows for an instrument to get underneath this undercut under the model and help separate from the build plate if you are building straight or printing straight to the build plate. And then preview actually then goes and renders the model in terms of what it'll look like. So if there's something you don't like, you can go back and change it. So you can look around, you can see the the infill, which will reinforce the model, help prevent breakage, still hollow those so that I save some resin. So I can see possibly an issue here where if resin gets stuck in here, there's no way for it to drain out because, because this will block it off here. So, and that's the beauty of preview. Then I can go back to number of holes and I can change it. So let's have more holes and better drainage. And then I hit preview again. And so, well, didn't completely, and still have that issue there. Let's try one more time. This is a bit overkill with the number of drain holes, but it will then, you can see when this drain hole, well, I think it's trying to protect the data here. So let's see if maybe I have to go smaller and distance here. One more time. If this doesn't work, I'm just gonna move on because it's not the end of the world if some resin gets stuck in there. All right, so yeah, finally, there's no areas where resin will get trapped here. I'm happy with how this looks, and then just change the orientation. Okay, so I'll hit next. And this is for adding dies. I'm not using the 3D printer for crown and bridge, unfortunately, yet, not in Canada yet anyways. This would be more so for labs. I haven't played around with too much, but the fact that you can do this is pretty cool. You can kind of choose teeth and all that. I won't go through it because I'm not too familiar with it. And this is saying that there's some, I guess when the bite was done, there's things overlapping. So I'll just say, I'll remove what's on the mandible and just hit confirm. And next thing is you can have indexing pins. So you can choose which one you want to edit and add support. So let's see here. So you can grab onto these and just move them, any which way. You can add another one here and just kind of have it like this. For purposes of bleaching tray or an Essix, obviously these aren't necessary. So if you want to get rid of them, you just hit delete, delete, delete. But it's nice just to say, when they do print, you'll notice there's like a male and female portion here so that they do coincide and allow for exact placement. I like to think my teeth are, you're able to hand articulate them if I need be, but if not, there's definitely this option. And again, I don't want them for this example, and you can just delete them. What is cool is there are, I believe, so there's a whole list or examples of these different types of articulators which are allow for articulation. So let's see, you can, and then you just have to use these arrows to kind of move these into place, and you can even use this top one to, I believe, shrink it, and you want it to engage, and once it's blue, I believe that's what it says that it is good to go. If it's orange, if it was orange like it was previously, then it wasn't touching enough the model, so it's going to error out. However, again, this is just, you know, some cool things that you can see, and you can see it's a ball in a hole type mechanism, just hinge axis. Obviously not a proper articulator, but a cool, you know, function built in with this free software. So I'm going to delete that and hit next. And yeah, so you even have the option of labeling, so PK, and it goes hiding on the other way. So again, if it's orange, it means it's, you know, it won't be able to print it properly, so you want to have it blue, and obviously when it's long like this, it's going to be hard or impossible to get it in anywhere. So, and same thing, once you go shorter, and yeah, so you can do that. You can even invert it if you want it right side up. You can do emboss or engraving. There's an option there. But yeah, pretty cool functionality there, and overall I'm pretty happy with how that looks. All right, so next step is to then finish creating the model, and that's it. Just hit save, and basically I exported it, and I want to, just for example's sake, let's say I want to send it to my sprint rate for printing, and we use model 10 too, and you can go 50 microns, 100, or even faster at 170. For something like Bleaching Trays or even Essix, I would say even ludicrous is fine. And then, sorry, we're using a Pro 55. 2 and apply. And so let's say I got my mandible and my maxilla. As you can see here, this is the build plate of the Pro 55. It's, you know, a little on the small side, but it has the functionality of printing at a higher resolution. So let's say I want to print flat, so I can go flat like this and hit select base, and then I'm just looking for the flat part. And as you can see, it is tight on the build plate. However, it is possible, got to select base again, so you uncheck that. It is possible to print two arches or two models at the same time. You just need to plan it out. So let's say I don't have any red lines indicating that I'm not outside and of the build area. And then with this one, you can go like this as well, and rotate it a little bit more. Okay, so as you can see, the red indicates that it's outside of the printable area. This is how large the LCD screen is. However, the part that's touching the red part is a non-important part. So if this part doesn't get printed, I'm not too concerned. You can see that little part, and allows me to print both models at the same time. And because it's flat against the build platform, it will adhere. It shouldn't have any issues. However, if you so wish, you can add support. So flat or road density. I always like to do road, low, strength, medium, and then just hit generate all. And you can see it added supports on the bottom there. And more red comes out because little bits here go over, but again, that just won't get printed. Anything within these lines demarcated here should get printed, shouldn't be an issue. And then let's see, so for these models here, it will take 46 minutes and use about 26 mils of resin. And then I can just I'm at home right now, so I don't have access to my printer, but this is just to give you an idea of how long it would take and how much it would use up. This print preview, oh yeah, just kind of gives you layer by layer this is what the LCD will shine every layer to create these models. So yeah, pretty cool technology. Hope this video was useful. I plan to make more digital 3D printing intraoral scanning videos because that's just my interest. Hopefully you find it interesting, and yeah, like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks.